Hello guys, welcome to another video here in my channel. And so for today's video, I will be talking about the top 10 things that you need to prepare before entering Canada. Next, visa approved na show, and I bet you're excited for your travel here at the same time for your first winter, spring, summer, and fall here. But before you get carried away, I suggest that you watch this whole video of the top 10 things that you need to prepare before entering Canada, so you'll have an idea of the things that you need to gather or prepare, aside of course from your clothes, because remember that at the end of the day it is better to be prepared than be sorry. First is to prepare your credentials, especially if your profession is regulated here in Canada and if you want to pursue them here. If your profession is regulated here in Canada, then it is really better to prepare your documents beforehand, and one of the things that you should do is to visit your regulating body, contact them or email them, and ask them about the documents that they'll be needing from you, from your school, from your current and even from your previous employers, because sometimes it is difficult to reach out to them and let them sign and send documents on behalf of you. So gathering documents beforehand, such as your medium of English, your diploma, your transcript of records, and your educational credential assessment, for example, will surely lessen your burden once you're inside Canada. Just like in my case, I am an international radiographer here, and that is a regulated profession here. And even though I already have a license before entering Canada, I still made sure to bring and gather the documents with me, because I know that each provinces have their own rules and regulations and policies when it comes to licensing. And in return, made my job hunting quite easier and smooth sailing, and at the same time it made our permanent residency application faster, because all the documents are just right there in front of me, and so that really made a difference on our application. And so that's also one of the things that you should also be considering, or that you should also be thinking prior to entering Canada. Second thing is to prepare financially. One of the wrong misconceptions I often hear from other immigrants or from those people who has not entered Canada yet is that you don't need to bring lots of money with you, because you'll just be earning some cash here and that will suffice for the whole duration or for your whole stay here. Not really true though, because Canada is expensive, and regardless if you're gonna come here through a student pathway or through a temporary visa pathway or visa pathway or permanent residency pathway, know that life here in Canada is not easy, especially if you're still starting out. And wherever you go, you'll be spending some dollars, from your transportation to your rent to purchasing your first winter clothes and boots, and even to your groceries. And these things requires money. And so if you don't bring enough cash with you, then you're gonna be in big trouble. And depending also on how big your family is, you also have to consider that one. So my suggestion is to always bring enough cash with you, or bring lots of cash with you. Otherwise, you're just gonna be miserable here in Canada, and you won't be able to enjoy the rest of your stay here if you're planning to stay here for a longer period of time. In fact, the Government of Canada updates its website every year regarding how much funds you can bring. Take a look at this table that I'm going to present to you. In addition, IRCC also mentioned in their website that people under Federal Skilled Worker Program and the Federal Skilled Trades Program are the ones who needed most to show some proof of funds, while those applying under the Canadian Experience class, or those people authorized to work in Canada and has a valid job offer, even under FSW or FST, need not show that they have enough money to support their family or themselves. In my opinion, I would still suggest to follow the table that I have shown a while ago, or now, meaning bring as much cash with you, so you won't need to worry and think about them once you're inside Canada. Just bear in mind though that even though there are no restrictions of the amount of money you can bring here, you must declare any currency or monetary documents that's valid 10,000 Canadian dollar or more to not get yourself in trouble. And number 3 is to prepare for jobs, like for example job interviews. One of the things that you should also prepare prior to moving here is to prepare yourself for some job interviews, or even when you don't have a prospective employer yet, it would be wise for you to gather all the possible questions that they might ask you once they'll consider interviewing you. And also, don't be complacent about the idea that just because you've had lots of job interviews in the past that you can already nail the interviews here, because trust me, it is different. Remember that each interviewer is unique, so Who knows? You might end up with someone who is by the book, or someone who has their questions written on a piece of paper and they'll just throw the questions right there in front of you, or someone who focuses on your soft skills, or someone who focuses on your other skills, whatever that might be. So gathering all the possible questions that your employer might ask you could really help you in landing a job here. And just a tip to always be honest and to always be confident with your answers, even though deep down inside you're already trembling. So the fourth one is to prepare for some of your basic needs here, such as your clothes, your shoes, or your boots perhaps. So whether you're planning to come here during the winter, spring, summer, or fall, I would suggest to bring or prepare 1 or 2 pairs of clothes or shoes or boots, for example, for each season, or maybe just for the first season of landing here in Canada. So if you plan to come during the winter, then might as well just bring 1 or 2 pairs of boots here. And if you want to add more to that collection of yours, then Canada is the perfect place for that. Especially for boots, I suggest that you also buy one here, because winter in Canada is different from any other countries. And so boots here are tested for the appropriate weather, even for the jackets, like parka jackets for example. It will also save you some money and time if you buy them beforehand, because it's not like you can buy jackets or boots once you land in Canada or once you're at the airport, because trust me, they're kind of expensive. And once you've settled here, then that's the time that you roam around the area you live in and visit some of the cheap stores nearby and carry on with your season attire hunting. And also, if cash is limited, then you can also go around and visit some donation centers, because they have lots of clothes there that they just give for free. There are also some communities, like for example Filipino communities, who donates some of their stuff that they're not using anymore. You can also try Marketplace, because that's also another way of looking for some cheap stuffs. Or probably you can join Facebook groups, because again, there are people out there, donate their stuff for free. So there's a lot of ways on how you can get some basic stuff here. What you have to do is just to ask people around, check some helpful websites. So there goes the fifth one now. The fifth one talks about preparing to bring your medications here. Now, you may forget about the rest of the things that I just said a while ago, but not this. Especially if you have kids and you're planning to bring them here, then you really need to make sure that you bring their medications, because the weather here can change in just a snap. So apart from their usual medications, if they have one, then you also might want to consider bringing over-the-counter medications or medicines for flu, colds, headache, or for body pain. Try also bringing some vitamins with you. Now I know that you can buy them here, but if you're just starting your new life here, then locating your nearest pharmacy can be tedious. Plus, some health insurances can only be used if you've been in that province for 3 months or more. Otherwise, you'll be shedding money from your own pocket if you get sick. In our case, I made sure that I bring with us some ficusant oil, Salon Pass, Vicks, white flour, and even for some medications for upset stomach. There are still some other medications that you can bring here, and obviously it's up to you what are those medications that you should be bringing with you. So if I were you, I would list on all the medications that you and your family usually takes, and if you have some prescriptions, then you might want to consider bringing them as well with you. And the sixth one is to prepare to bring some of your favorite foods here. Bringing foods here in Canada for personal use is actually okay, provided that you don't bring any foods that have meat content on it. In addition, it is always better to check IRCC's website to know what are the foods that you can bring here and what are the foods that you cannot bring here. Lately, they've made some restrictions on importing live birds, bird products, and byproducts from states affected by the avian influenza. So better to check first the table provided by IRCC before you purchase your favorite foods, condiments, or snacks, because there may be some restrictions on them, and the restrictions vary depending on the item, the country it originated, and where in Canada you're bringing them. Also, it's imperative that you declare all food products that you're going to be bringing inside Canada, and be prepared for it to be inspected by the CBSA at the point of entry if you're asked to do so. Then we go to number 7, which is to prepare to know the province that you've chosen. This is also one of the things that you need to prepare once everything is set in your side there. Researching about the province that you decide to live in, whether it will be permanently or just temporarily, can save you a lot of worries and troubles in the future. Plus, you get less anxious because you already know what to expect. Start by making friends with Google first and check for any nearby schools that your children can attend to. Check also for a nearby church if you are a religious person, or even if you're not, attending church can help you a lot in your spiritual journey. How about transportation? Is it easily accessible, or does commuting from point A to point B quite difficult? How much do they cost and what are they? So those are the few things that you should be asking yourself so you can get to know more your province. Try also checking FB groups to link you with some Filipino communities, for example, and might as well check some stores and even volunteer sites. In fact, I know a lot of Filipinos here who has volunteered or who has tried volunteering, and it has really helped them a lot with their connections and at the same time with their experiences. Remember that it's always nice to know ahead of time of what are the things that you'll be expecting here. And if you have some relatives or close friends that lives nearby in the town that you've chosen, try reaching out with them and ask for some advices. You actually don't need to live with them, as I don't recommend this one, but it's always nice to know that you've done your homework. And number 8 is to prepare for your driver's license. Another homework that you should be doing is to gather information on how to get a driver's license here in Canada. Now, I know in the Philippines that they no longer issue a card, and unfortunately there have been people I know here who had problems acquiring a driver's license because some provinces here won't accept the paper issued back home. Thus, to avoid dilemma, research first the guidelines or the process on how to acquire a driver's license in the province that you intend to stay in. And as much as possible, while you are still in the Philippines, for example, get a driver's abstract and an ID card from the Land Transportation Office. I've heard also that some provinces in the Philippines will issue an ID card instead of the certificate if you tell them that your flight is coming soon, which is good. Here in British Columbia though, you can get the full information such as the process, guides, and steps on getting a full license if you visit the itbc.com. The last but not the least on my list is what I like to call the miscellaneous, or the other things that you can bring here. Now, it was a year ago when we arrived here, and 9 months after we got our permanent residency, and I can still remember vividly that we brought a lot of stuff with us apart from the few clothes, because we don't like the idea that we have to buy them here and spend more money, especially that we were still starting out and we still don't have a job back then. And that was one of the best choices that we've made so far, because we were able to save a lot of money. So aside from the hair blow dryer, I also brought with me my flat iron, hangers, tumblers, and lunch boxes for work, and at the same time my scrub suits and rubber shoes for hospital usage. And since it was fall when we arrived, I also made sure to bring with me lots of heat techs, leggings, jackets, sweaters, and not to mention my radiology books as well. We really did prepare for some of the basic stuff that we know that we're gonna be needing here, but we did not bring some Filipino snacks, condiments, or even dried fish, because we know that we can just buy them here, although some of the Filipino foods here doesn't taste similar to what we are used to back home. Nevertheless, back then we had to be wise of what are the things that we can and we cannot afford to bring here. As for the parka jackets and boots, we just bought them here because they have better quality than anywhere else. The number 10th, which is the last thing, is to prepare yourself. I believe this is the number 1 on my top 10 list, because if you're not fully prepared, then you'll probably be one of those people who just gave up and went back home. Living in Canada is really different, even for those people who have tried living and staying in Western countries, and even for those people who had tried treading in dangerous countries as well. I would still say, and I kept repeating this one, that you have to be prepared not just physically, emotionally, emotionally, mentally, but also financially. Because it doesn't matter if you're used to traveling or if you've been in many other countries, or if you're an ex-OFW, or if you've tried living in other Western countries, your patience and your faith will be tested here. That's why a support system is also important here. It is even more difficult if you are a professional in your home country and you can't use your license to work here, thus forcing you to fulfill a menial job, or if you are used to high salaries but then you end up in a company that doesn't meet your expectations. It will really make you question your decisions, and I've seen that a lot from newcomers here. So if you have made up your mind to immigrate here or to transfer here or even just to come here as a tourist visa, know that it will be difficult at first and you will encounter a lot of challenges no matter how prepared you are, but also know that they won't last forever and good thing comes to those who patiently wait. Also, don't just prepare yourself, but also prepare the rest of the family members that's gonna come with you, because it is also not easy for them to change environment and meet new people. So always remember that at the end of the day, you guys are a team. And if you come here alone, don't you worry that much, because there are lots of single people who immigrated here in Canada and turn out to be successful. You are not alone, and eventually, once you get used to the system and to your routine and to your environment as well, then you'll just realize that everything seems so easy now. And that's when you'll reminisce and tell yourself that you've made it through. So sometimes you also need to pat your shoulders or to congratulate yourself for a job well done. That's it for this video, and I hope you learned something from me, or I hope you learned a lot from this video. And if you have some questions, you can just put it in the comment section below and I'll try my best to answer them. Or if you have any topics that you want me to discuss, then just go ahead and put it in the comment section. So remember to heed my advice, and then if you've already decided to immigrate here, then know that it's going to be one of the best decisions that you're going to be making in your whole life, and I don't think there's a better place to immigrate than Canada. Bye for now.